I have three different workout plans, which together, in combination with each other, make up a year-round workout system, training system that I currently practice. But I used to only have one plan, one regime. This consisted of about 4 workouts per week, 6 to 7 different exercises per session, and notably, very short breaks in between exercises for the purposes of conditioning. So this plan was focused on hitting a lot of different body parts, but also a lot of different specific muscles intentionally, and then also not just building size, not just building strength, but also strength endurance with certain types of exercises, and with the conditioning also building just endurance itself, right? Building decent stamina, being able to lift heavy under pressure, essentially, under endurance pressure at the end of the day. So I only took about a minute of rest time in between exercises. The problem with this workout plan was that I couldn't, or at least I didn't, stick to it all year long. I was very inconsistent with it. I would work out and stick to the plan 100%, usually for about a month, maybe 2, get into really, really good shape, and then slowly fall off, or just fall off completely, and sort of do maybe a couple of workouts, like 2 or 3, in some cases just 1 workout per week for a while. Then I had phases where I didn't do any workouts at all. And then I'd have like a moment where I felt really bad about myself because I hadn't worked out at all for quite a while, or at least I hadn't been following my plan for a while. Maybe I'd been doing other stuff, other activities, but I hadn't been following my regime. So my motivation would surge for, a while. I would get another month or 2 months of very strictly following proper protocol. And then again, it would slowly trail off. I would fall off either completely or slowly again over a period of time. So I was struggling to be consistent with this plan that I had designed, which worked very well, which was very effective, which was in and of itself not a bad plan. But I realized that the main problem I had was, number one, I would get bored of doing the same exercises, or I would feel dissatisfied when I got to a point where I wasn't making a ton of progress with this specific plan. Like I wasn't increasing my reps on every set. I wasn't increasing my weight by any significant degree. The workouts were starting to get stale, get boring. All of these different things. I was starting to, get sick of this regime. It just annoyed me, and I would fall off at some point. That was one big problem. Another big problem was time. Because obviously there were times throughout the year where I'd be on vacation, I had to work a lot. So there were times where I just had more free time, or I just had more mental capacities, and I was a lot more willing to focus on these workouts. And then there were times where I just felt very sluggish, or I just didn't have the time. I could still technically, of course, find the time to do this workout, but it felt like it was much more of an effort. It felt like much more pressure than, when I felt relaxed and I had all the time in the world. These workouts were like an hour maybe, if I include warm-up, maybe a little bit more due to the short rest times. Actually, the workouts were not super long, but they were very intense due to the short rest times as well. Mentally, physically as well, of course, but mentally, because I had to be 100% focused on the workout. There wasn't really any time to do anything in between. I was doing these workouts alone, so, I'm not chatting to friends or anything, and because the rest times were so short, and because, I had to keep count of my reps and stuff like that, I couldn't really check my phone, listen to a podcast. In some cases, even music would distract me from being 100% focused on the workout and performing as well as I could. So these workouts were also mentally taxing to a certain extent. The result was that usually I would get in really good shape at certain points throughout the year, and generally speaking, that shape would get better from year to year. So the peak shape I was in each year would improve somewhat, but throughout the year, there were times where I was maybe in decent shape, but not in as good a shape as I could have been. And I'm not really talking about visuals here, that as well, but also, just general athleticism in terms of, strength, endurance, all of that. I wasn't in shape as much as I wanted to be and as I could have been. And I was also just leaving a lot on the table in terms of the gains I could have made each year, because there were times throughout the year, obviously, where I was working very hard, but then there were a lot of times where I wasn't working very hard, or I was maybe not even working at all. And what I realized was two things. Number one, if I want to work out consistently, I need variety. And I need it in the form of plans adjusted to different times of year or different living modes, essentially adjusted to different states of living that I typically find myself in. The workout plan, the regime I was currently following, was essentially designed for a mode of living that was somewhat optimized for working out. It, was very taxing mentally. Again, the workouts were very intense. And so, sure, I required a decent amount of time to do the workout, but more importantly, I required a decent amount of mental capacity. I needed the right frame of mind to really perform on these workouts and to even get myself to do them in the first place. So I needed workouts or workout plans, entire regimes that were adjusted for times throughout the year where this was not the case, where I didn't have a ton of mental capacity to invest into just working out, where I didn't have, the motivation, where I didn't have the energy to do something that felt really grueling, that felt really intense. So I sat down and I created 2 new plans to complement the one I already had. One that has a higher level of intensity with 6 days of training per week instead of 4, more sets per workout, and relatively speaking, more of those sets being sets on big lifts. So I didn't do as many sets on easier exercises, exercises that target smaller muscle groups, and instead I did a lot more sets that focus on bigger muscle groups that move a lot of weight. As a trade-off, though, the plan is much simpler, each workout only consisting of 4 different exercises, and I do take longer breaks between sets, which means the pacing is different, allowing me to watch a video in between sets or listen to a podcast while I do the workout, stuff of that nature. The workout plan is very physically taxing because of the 6 workouts per week and the increased number of sets, but more so over time, right? The workout plan is very tiring. I feel like I've done a lot of work at the end of the week. The workouts themselves actually feel more chill because while the lifts are very heavy, so a set might be very intense. Due to the longer breaks in between, it's actually kind of relaxing. I don't know. I feel like doing heavy work for a very short period of time and then taking 2, 3, in some cases 4 minutes to rest is not very intense, at least to me. While this regime is not as balanced as my original plan, I obviously train my endurance less with the longer breaks, and I also do a lot less exercises that focus on lots of different specific muscles, smaller muscle groups. Instead, I do a lot of big lifts that focus on key muscles, and then a couple of exercises that focus on muscles like the forearms that are very important to me specifically. It is very good for gaining raw strength and size, and I do this workout mainly, or this workout plan rather, mainly during times where I don't spend a lot of time outside. I don't have the ability to do a lot of parkour, things like that, because I actually do have 2 dedicated leg workouts in this plan. And so this is something I mainly do during the fall season, the later parts of fall / autumn, whatever you want to call it, and during the winter and early spring in some cases. The other regime I created is all about personal flexibility. So there are about 3 to 4 days of training per week, and there are no fixed amounts of sets per exercise or anything like that. I don't even do a fixed workout session in the traditional sense. There's just a total number of reps that I have to do per day, and easier exercises or exercises that focus on smaller muscle groups, so exercises where I'm not moving a ton of weight or I'm not targeting a ton of different muscles, just count as like a half rep, or in some cases a quarter of a rep. So something like a push-up, for instance, which hits a lot of different muscles but is a comparatively easy exercise, is a half rep, while something like a bench press with a large amount of weight counts as a full rep. And something like a lateral raise may also be a half rep. When I do lateral raises with very little weight and I do very controlled repetitions and do, high rep ranges, that might be a quarter of a repetition that, I have to do to reach my total number of reps per day. So essentially, I can do like a set at any time throughout the day. I just do a couple sets here, a couple sets there. Maybe I do a longer session when I have the time, do a large amount of sets, but then I do a few sets later on when I have time. It's just very, very flexible. This workout plan is perfect for times when, stress is high, when I don't have much time, I have to work a lot, or, maybe I'm on the road a lot, I'm traveling a lot. Perhaps my willingness to work out is also very low. This workout plan is great for that as well, because I only have to get myself to do like 1 or 2 sets, then I can do something else, and then I can get myself to do 1 or 2 sets, or maybe 3 or 4 again. And for me as a very fit person, getting myself to do like 2 or 3 sets of push-ups is nothing. That's like getting a glass of water or something. It's like a small activity that I can do in between other things I do. And so because I only have this total number of reps that I have to reach per day, getting myself to do these sets in between is very, very easy, even when my motivation is incredibly low. The fact that I only have a total number of reps that I have to do and no fixed exercises that I have to get in each workout also means that I can do this anywhere, anytime. So traveling is not a problem, because I can just do push-ups and maybe use, 2 water bottles to do some lateral raises or stuff like that, some triceps exercises. I don't have to do a bench press. I don't have to do an incline press. There are no specific exercises that I have to do within a day or within, a workout session. It's just this is a push day, so I generally do push exercises, or this is a pull day, so I generally do pull exercises, stuff like that. But the specific exercises don't really matter. The amount of exercises I do, or rather the amount of reps I do per exercise, don't matter either. I try to, do a large chunk of exercises that focus on larger muscles, and then a smaller chunk of the amount of reps I have to do is going to be exercises that focus on, things like the biceps, stuff like that. But overall, it doesn't really matter in the sense that there are no fixed values or anything. And while this might not be as dialed in as my original plan, so technically speaking, it's not as optimized, it's not as perfect for the ideal amount of gains, or whatever you want to call it, it is perfect for maintaining what I have because the plan is so incredibly flexible. It makes me feel productive because I am actually able to reach the goals in terms of intensity that I set. The amount of reps I set per day can be challenging. This can be something that is intense. This can be something that is taxing for my body. But because it is so flexible, I am 100% going to be able to do it no matter where I am, because again, the specific exercises are also very flexible. There is no fixed exercises I have to do. And so this does still make me feel very productive because I'm 100% able to reach these goals. And that just makes me more motivated, allows me to be more disciplined with working out, do it more consistently, and maintain my physique to a much greater degree and my athleticism to a much greater degree than I would be able to if I just had this one workout plan that is perfectly optimized, but I'm not actually able to stick to it. Now, of course, these plans are adjusted to my individual needs and wants. Some people prefer a single plan that they stick to throughout the entire year, and some want a different, entirely new one every 6 weeks. But that is precisely why I wanted to make this video. By giving you this example from my personal training history, if you will, from my specific journey, perhaps I can inspire you to think outside the box if training consistency is an issue for you. This is the case for a lot of intermediates who, hit a plateau with their training, and then they stop training, and then they lose some of their gains, and then after a couple of months they get back into training. This is very common for a lot of people in the intermediate range. And so next time you're not in the mood to go to the gym, maybe come up with something you can do at home. Or if you notice yourself getting bored or frustrated with your workout regime, maybe you just don't enjoy that chest day as much as you used to 4 weeks ago or whatever, instead of falling off, instead of slowly, going to the gym less and less, or quitting entirely, or if you're not going to the gym, doing the same thing at home, find or create a new regime. Instead of getting bored with your regime and, your actual working out, your progress rising and falling with that regime, make a new one. Find a new one online. Keep up the flow. You don't have to do the same thing forever. And vice versa, you also don't have to change anything. You can design a workout plan that you're willing to stick to forever if you don't want to change things, if you like having a very rigid, fixed regime. What's important is that you find out what might be a problem when it comes to training consistency for you specifically. What is keeping you from working out every week? Unless, of course, you're specifically taking a rest week, but obviously that's not what I'm talking about. What is keeping you from working out every week, every month? What could you do to do that? What would actually make this fun for you, or at least fairly viable for you? You don't have to be crazy motivated on every workout, and you're not going to be. You do have to be disciplined, but you shouldn't be disciplined to the degree where you do something that just really, really sucks, like every week, or even every day after a couple of weeks. You should be able to generate some level of motivation, some level of enjoyment when it comes to working out. Because discipline is important, but you shouldn't have to constantly grapple with yourself or your schedule to be able to work out. That's just not going to be viable in the long run. It's not going to work. So instead of trying to force yourself to do something you don't want to do at all, or just not doing it and not working out for large chunks of the year or the month, try to think of something that works as an intermediary between the two. You do get yourself to work out, but you do it in a way that is enjoyable enough that it allows for longevity. Temperance is key. That's actually going to be it for today. This was a bit of a shorter video, and I didn't invest as much time or effort into writing the notes as I did with the previous two. The last two videos took a lot of time to make. I did quite a bit of research and I put a lot of thought into the notes for those talks because I really wanted to nail the contents. They certainly weren't perfect, but I did want to get across very clearly what I was talking about in those videos. I'm very busy with university and writing at the moment though, and I still want some consistency when it comes to my uploads because the last two videos were weeks apart. So I will mostly do shorter, less thought out videos like this one for now, as long as I don't have the time to do those types of videos with the same level of consistency that I would like to keep up. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was still informative or at least inspiring in some capacity. If you enjoyed this video, if it gave you any value, be sure to leave a like. I would very much appreciate that. And if you feel like a friend, a family member, a colleague could derive value from this video as well, feel free to share it. That would help me a lot. If you want to see videos like this in the future, if you don't want to miss any of my talks on training, general health, and practical philosophy, go ahead and subscribe. If you do, activate the notification bell, I suppose. And if you're interested in any specifics about any of the things I talked about in this video, if you have any questions, if there's something you didn't quite understand, or if you have any suggestions, any requests for future videos, topics you want me to talk about, go ahead and leave a comment down below. All that being said, I hope I see you in the next one, and until then, go work out and do it your way.